Hi all, this is Jeanette Canes from Jewelry Arts Inc. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solder a decorative wire and a bezel down all at the same time. Much faster, much easier, and what a surprise, much less cleanup. So we're about to do some soldering. I'm basically doing a couple things. So I'm showing Alexis how it's much better and faster to solder a bezel and the wire down at the same time. What we used to do back in the olden days is we would solder the bezel down first and then force the wire around it, and you have to like shove the solder underneath, and it was kind of like, if you weren't really careful, you get some solder up on the side, and it just was like a whole thing. And one day I was like, what would happen if I just did it all at once? And it worked amazing. So I'm showing her my method. Love it. So, but otherwise, everything is normal. Paste flux. I'm going to use a nice big hot flame, hot and fast. You always have to make sure that you've got some paste flux on the outside, because I want that solder to not only fill under the bezel, but to fill under the wire as well. So we made sure everything is laying there like pretty nice and tight. And I put enough solder in there that like that could be it, but it's pretty common with something like this that you kind of like, you try some and then you look, and if it needs a little more, you add some. Because I would prefer that rather than adding like too much and having it look a little lumpy, because I don't want that. Because the ideal zero cleanup is like always our goal. Okay, so I'm going to dry it a little bit just to make sure that the solder stays on the inside. So we've balled up the solder, and it's on the inside right up against the bezel. As long as that solder stays up against the edge, it doesn't really matter if it moves a bit. Okay, so I'm going to go from underneath. Hot and fast is the way it is, like so. And do that. Look at that. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. You see that, how it just filled in that wire? Oh, it's so beautiful. So basically now we're going to check it and see like, if it went when it flowed beautifully. But to calculate the right amount of solder perfectly is not super easy. And like I said, I'd rather underestimate a little bit and then add a little bit more. But there's a little bit of a space over there, so we'll add a little more solder. But like, do you see that beautiful, how that just like runs around in there, so clean and gorgeous? So none of that requires any cleanup whatsoever. So basically I want you to like, honestly, I could just dip my solder in there.
Keep going.
And keep going. Maybe I'll just do that because I'm very nerdy. Do you have any more pieces besides this?
No.
Okay. Hold on a moment. We'll cut a couple more pieces and we're going to put it in now. I mean, stopping and pickling is not a bad idea, but this didn't get very dirty and we used paste flux, so I feel perfectly fine with being naughty and going ahead and just adding more.
So you're gonna add a couple more?
Yeah, a couple more pieces. The good news about stuff like this is you don't have to worry so much about where you put it, because wherever it isn't filled in, there's strong capillary action there. So even if I added solder to the other side, as long as I get that thing good and hot and the solder's flowing, it's gonna end up in that spot. I mean, I'm of course gonna put it near there, don't get me wrong. There's no reason to make it harder than it has to be, but it'll wanna go there regardless. Okay, so I'm putting 2 pieces in there, which I think is enough. I'm going to add a little bit of paste flux on the outside, because remember, you always put paste flux where you want the solder to go, because you want it to go there. Okay. I just dry it, and if my solder does anything naughty, I poke it back in place. I think that's good. Hot and fast is where it's at. Oh, look at that. It's so beautiful. Okay, so let it cool, throw it in the pickle, and we'll give it a really good look. It should be done, but it obviously, this is always the kind of thing you just clean it and check, and if we need to add any more, we will. But the way that just like flows around there, it's beautiful. So there it is, all pickled and cleaned up. If that's not fucking beautiful, I don't know what is. This is beautiful.